Donald Trump indicted, facing 3,000 counts now, just 30 counts, and he lashes out. And New York officials, well, here we are today. We have him cooperating. What's it going to be like? Last week, the mainstream media, the the propaganda arms of the state are all saying he's going to fight. His team's going to fight. Well, you think the guy built to fight everything? You think he's just going to lay down? Well, maybe he is. Maybe he is. What's going on, guys? Brandon here. Please share truth out every time you see it, whether it's here or whether it's somewhere else. We promise you to always question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself. Please share out any truth you get. Trust but verify, and do your own research. But giving something other than the statist propaganda arms, giving an alternative narrative to the great narratives and the great resets being planned for your life where you're going to eat bugs, well, we got another plan for the unproductive class, and it's all happening here. So let's dive into this quickly, but please share it out. Please, the algorithm hates truth, and truth is only going to go so far as the people sharing it and educating. And remember, 3%. That's what we're probably going to build a community based on the 3%. Is just something I've been thinking about, praying about. What are we going to build around? What's the thing, in 3%? This is, right here. This is my background. This is my screensaver, or my background, my wallpaper for my computer. And it's just a constant reminder. I used to have George Washington praying at Valley Forge for years, and then I just changed it in the last year or two to him crossing the Delaware. And as a reminder to how close freedom is from being gone. If you've studied the Revolutionary War at all, you know how quick and how fast things can go awry, and how close we were to never having America. And it's all thanks to the 3%. The 3% that gave us America. 3% is all it took to give us the 97% America, and give the rest of the world, and with the providence of God, giving the rest of the world the United States of America, and a beacon, a shining light on a hill for the rest of the world to look towards and to come to, and to have salvation, a refuge from all the ills of the world and the sin and evil of the world. It really is mind-blowing when you look at it. And those men, whether you like it or not, they relied on the providence of God. You can see it in all their papers, all their writings, all their journals, their memos, their notes to each other. It was always about God, seeking firm reliance on providence, and it's in the founding documents as well, and it's in the Declaration of Independence. It's one of my favorite lines in the end of the Declaration of Independence, and mutually pledging their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honors, and relying on divine protection. And so we have to know where we come from, or else we're doomed to repeat it. So Trump, this is, again, just clown world. And, if the guy ends up, for some reason, somehow in handcuffs, I mean, he wins. He literally wins the election today, 2 years out from the election, a year and a half out from the election. I don't think his political enemies, the globalists, the statists, the unproductive class, can be that ignorant, but they can be. We know they can be, because they're the ones that got us in this mess. We constantly are believing their government education system. We constantly are believing, well, it's transitory, and we're constantly believing that I did not have relations with that woman, and we're constantly believing they had weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and on and on and on. You just go down the list. How many times can you actually trust what the government is doing? Because at the end of the day, it's our fault. The government is not there to help us and serve us. That's not the government. That's why the founding fathers, that's why this man here did what he did. That's why people fought this war and pledged to each other their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor, because they knew how tyrannical governments were, and they put in the appropriate documents because they needed and knew you had to limit government. You had to constrict government and suffocate government so it couldn't do anything. And all the states were their own little countries. And then you had just this federal government just to, conduct, a big military scale operation if need be, just protect the borders. But these things were all done in synchronization with the states. And that was really all it was. And we now are led to believe our rights come from God, or from government, and not from God. And money comes from government and not from value creation with each other. We're so backwards that it gives us, we're fighting uphill, this huge uphill battle that you're never going to win. You're fighting against this current that you're not going to win, because we have the definitions in our lives completely backwards. We have everything backwards. So Trump here, it's a historic indictment. They just want to be able to say these things, right? This is red meat for people that are easily duped for statists, for globalists, for people that are quite honestly on the lower end of the IQ and EQ spectrum. And we have to call it what it is. This is what it is at the end of the day. And we have to start naming things as they are in order to make progress in life. And you don't have to be mean about things, but these are things that are going to easily dupe people that have been told and have broken brain disease, as I've coined it. And we have an article and a video coming out about that as well. BBD. So if you might have a case of that, if you believe what the mainstream media has said any time over the last 6 years about Donald Trump, you might have a case of BBD, of broken brain disease. So this is the problem we're living with. Bitcoin solves these things because it takes the money away from the apparatus. It takes the money away from the military industrial complex, takes the money away from the Soros district attorneys. It takes the money away from the state. It takes the money away from all these goons, all these hit squads, everyone doing these things. I mean, Glenn Beck said it the other day. Donald Trump has become a symbol of the average man. He's no longer a person. The mainstream media, they've done such a good job at trying to disparage the guy. They've actually made him a martyr. They've actually made him a symbol and for the average person, just getting trampled on over and over again, two-tier justice system, just constantly run over and then backed up and run over again, and then backed up and run over again. They raided the guy's place, the FBI, weaponizing different departments of the government, raided his place, and then it just fell apart. It just completely just because there was nothing to it, right? If you had half a brain cell, you could see that it was just, these are his political hit jobs. Because then, sure enough, Biden comes out, which again, probably planned as well. There's something going on there, but then we don't hear about it again. Why did the Trump stuff just go away? Well, it's because now Biden's in trouble for the same thing. I mean, again, but then there's still people that believe, well, Trump was at fault and Biden, if you find yourself, defending Biden, but then you're against Trump. I mean, you have a case of BBD. You might have a case. You have to get yourself checked. And the best way to do that is to get on a Bitcoin standard. Is to go price your life in Bitcoin and start understanding what we showed in our market update earlier as well. Repricing everything in your life in Bitcoin, and you start seeing the power of what's actually happening. You start seeing the game, the joke that's being played on you, right? So if you're holding Bitcoin the last 10 years, this is oil price in Bitcoin terms, just going down and down and down. Your life's getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And I can go over thousands of different, every single commodity, everything in the world looks like this chart, where oil or gold, maybe they just kind of held par over the last, in dollar terms, over the last 10 years, but Bitcoin has destroyed all of it. So again, here we have the price of the S&P 500. Everyone thinks the S&P 500 went up a lot. Well, look how good the S&P 500 did. Well, yeah, in dollar terms, maybe it did. It cost you more dollars just to buy one share of the S&P 500. More dollars just to buy one share of the S&P 500. However, if you've been holding Bitcoin, you can buy more and more shares of the S&P 500 than you could 10 years ago. So again, a deflationary money, a finite money for your finite time. It's the only trade. It's the only fair trade. And you start seeing everything clearly. You start removing yourself from the fray. You start realizing the money has broken everyone's brains, broken brain disease, and it destroyed the education system. It's destroyed politics. There's polarization, hate, division, all these things because people are mad. Rightfully so. The generations before that broke the system. They broke the money. They pulled gold out of the money. They pulled silver out of the coins. And they did the New Deal. They ordered Executive Order 6102 with gold and taking Americans' property. And they do all these things that, they're trying to pass gun bills so they can take your right to self-defense away. You can't defend yourself. You literally have no right to your own life. You can't defend yourself anymore. If you're in the womb, you're not protected. If you're out and you're alive as an adult or child, you can't protect yourself either because we're going to try to take your guns away. The only thing they can do is continue to take rights. That's what governments do, especially at the end of empires. They continue to take more and more rights exponentially. Probably goes up exponentially right along with the currency printing. They're going to print that right into oblivion. And we have 31 trillion in debt now. They're going to have 100 trillion in 5, 10 years, in 15 years, and probably a quadrillion in the next couple of decades. That is how this ends because the dollar is debt, right? So we have, again, coming back full circle to Trump himself. What's going to happen? He's brilliant in the sense that he's going along with the game. He's going to go play the game, and now he gets to talk about it all the time. He gets to say exactly what's on his mind. He gets to do, the gag orders, like Nolan Bowerly said. You're gonna gag the guy who can't stop talking. I mean, come on, it's hilarious. They think they're 10 steps ahead, yet they're really 20 steps behind. They're playing a different race. Donald Trump's playing a different race, and the biggest thing, again, I've always said this too. Donald Trump, the biggest thing he ever did. being in office was not something like he actually did as being president. The biggest thing he did was expose the broken brain disease, expose the mainstream media for being completely corrupt, which we've known for decades. I mean, forever. Been completely corrupt. However, he exposed that. His presidency is what exposed that. His personality exposed that. They couldn't stand him. They can't stand him. And they're going to out themselves. They're continually destroy themselves, actually. They think they're getting ahead, but they continually destroy themselves because they're trying to attack him so much and they're trying to take him down. And quite honestly, again, there's a reason why, like you said, Judge Napolitano, you got to read, reading books like this, you start to really unveil the, put your and I always say this too, you got to put your communist lenses on to actually see the world clearly. And the globalists and the Klaus Schwabs, why they're doing what they're doing. You have to put your communist lenses on in order for the world to make sense as to why these global powers are doing what they're doing and why they continually take rights away and why you're going to own nothing and be happy. These are not conspiracies. These are things that are literally out in the open in books and videos. You go to the World Economic Forum website. You can go to read the conspirators' hierarchy. The root word of conspiracy is conspire. It's to act in coordination. It's to plan and execute a plan against someone. That's what people are doing all the time. That's what humans do. So conspiracy theory, I believe, was coined and really first came into the public lexicon in the JFK assassination, which was the first time it was really used, and the media used it, and they just ran with it. And anyone that didn't go against the mainstream narrative, or anyone that went against the mainstream narrative, was labeled a conspiracy theorist. And you're a conspiracy theorist. You're a domestic terrorist and a conspiracy theorist. And that's all we heard, is to diminish debate and to not let free speech out and not let the debate happen. So that way the facts can't get out. You're trying to stifle debate so that way truth can't get out. And the average person, unfortunately, is so caught up in their everyday job and just trying to get by. And now there's all kinds of entertainment. They just don't even have time. Like, whatever. Like, okay, it'll figure itself out. And because they're good people too, and they believe in the goodness of people, and things are just going to work out the way they should. But that's not life. That's not how life works. We have to be active. We have to be paying attention to what's actually happening in life. And I forget what founding father said it, but it's, if you're not involved in politics, you're not involved with your local government and just the local happenings and what's going around and the people that you give consent to, the people that you give leadership power to, if you're not involved in that, you will be governed by your inferiors. Whether it's the people voting for them in or the people actually serving, you will be governed by your inferiors. And we are now experiencing that on a mass scale. People everywhere, the Mitch McConnells, the Eric Swalwells, the Adam Schiffs, the Lindsey Grahams, the George Bushes, the Barack Obamas, you go on and on and on. I mean, Joe Biden walking around, can't even open doors and walk around. Nancy Pelosi, I'm trying to think, did I say Nancy Pelosi? But all these people, just broken brain. Mitt Romney, broken brain disease. Senator Warren, I mean, boy, oh boy. I mean, the one who's worth millions of dollars, has taken all kinds of bank, political money, but then she's over here telling us that we can't invest in Bitcoin, we can't do this and that, we got to regulate this and that. I mean, just clown world, and it has no idea how to explain it. It doesn't even know what it is. Couldn't even explain to you what money is. BBD, broken brain disease. So, this is absolutely a brilliant move by Trump. I laughed when I first heard that he was just going to fly himself up there. I mean, again, nothing in politics happens for no reason, as Ronald Reagan once said. So let's pay attention. Let's get ourselves independent, resilient, because I laugh. Like, all this stuff is funny to me. Like 10, 12, 15 years ago, I mean, it's sad. I have to laugh or else I'd cry. I was very involved in politics. I'm phone banking, and I'm fighting for liberty, fighting for the Constitution. Now you realize all you need is those documents, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence. It's all we need. And we take our money, and then we go and where we need to go, whatever state, and then we recreate the United States, whatever it is, because those people that go there and flock to that area that do that, whether it's all 50 together or it's a couple or whatever it is, they will create the new world in Bitcoin. It could be El Salvador. It could be the savior as it's what it means. It could be that world on Bitcoin, and you're seeing the freedom that people flock there. And the Nayib Bukele has been coined the leader of the freed world by many people. And when you juxtapose Bukele to Biden, it's not even a contest. So we have to wake up. We have to wake up. I will fight to the grave for this country, and we will survive. We will prevail, because it's for not us, but it's for our kids and our grandchildren. And I know that no one really cares apparently about grandchildren or children anymore, and people aren't even having children, not getting married. They don't even arm their schools. They just left their kids like sitting ducks, and we kill them in the womb. I know we don't care. I know we don't. I get it. But there are some people that do. You and I, we do care. We do. And this will happen, the 3%. Like we started the video, Trump is playing the game. He understands, like he told Judge Napolitano, he promised him, I will release JFK files. I will release them. And then he said, hey, it's the last week. You got to release them. He said, Judge, If you saw what I saw in those, you wouldn't release them either. So that just tells you what that play. That tells you who's above the president of the United States, and that just tells you the system we are looking at. This is the sly roundabout way, fixing the money. And just like Henry Ford talked about, an energy money that has to be used to take the power from the corrupt oligarchs and autocrats. It has to be done. And it will be done. Because decentralization and freedom always wins long term. It might take a while, but it's always going to win. People always seek that, and it will always happen. It's going to take a while. It takes a little bit. But what better fight? The greatest game, as Jeff Booth says. So the 3%, all we need. 3%. 3%. It's only, we're probably, well, yeah, we're probably 3%, which is about 10 million people in America. So that's all we need to be true Bitcoiners, to truly understand what's going on. And we will get there. We absolutely will get there. We're going to get there in the next 5 years. So it's going to be a heck of a time. That time's going to pass anyway. So we might as well do something. So if you're looking for some real commentary on Trump, if he's guilty or not, you're in the wrong place. You might have a case of BBD. So things like this, we got to comment on stuff like this because we're going to keep showing people how the fiat system, the brain warp, the brain drain is really a psyop for everything that's going on in the world and into obfuscating truth and reality from everything that's going on. So pay attention. Pay attention to Zelensky getting laughed out of courtrooms, to the push to regulate Bitcoin away, and the UCC, Uniform Commercial Codes, the currency collapsing, the U.S. currency, because the BRICS nations are all starting to use everything outside the dollar in transact. See what's going on around the world, China and Taiwan, the Russia, the war. You'll start seeing things from a way different level. And then you see places like Africa or El Salvador blossoming because they're glomming onto Bitcoin. They're starting to use the Bitcoin that you don't need permission to use. Anyone can use it, and they're starting to get their freedom back. The countries south of the border, or south of the equator, are going to run this next 100 years. It's not China, like Ray Dalio says, or Peter Zeihan. It's the countries with the commodities and the resources south of the equator. We are in a brave new world, but it is a world that America will win. Absolutely, because we have people here, the 3%, that have not gone away. They might be sleeping, but they are coming back. So please share this out. The algorithm hates truth. Question everything with boldness, even the existence of God himself, is not financial advice, it's freedom advice. I appreciate you coming to my TED Talk as well. And I look forward to seeing you on the next one.